Fishing for Souls, written by Anthony Paderas and narrated by Chadwick Polson. It's hard to please everyone, especially when they don't grow with you. You think I've always been this quote-unquote asshole? Well, you're wrong. You're all wrong. My mom used to tell me if I wasn't a good boy, I'd be taken by the Boogeyman. Well, it happened anyway, and it's been haunting me ever since. Back when I was 8, I was that kid. I got everything I asked for, always went on vacation, and most of all, both of my parents were still together. Literally not a single thing to worry about. I mean, I even ate Brussels sprouts, perfect to a parent's standards, but don't get me wrong, the other kids let it be known, especially when my parents would have playdates and I still had my nightlight plugged in. Yeah, I was terrified of the dark like every other kid out there. Believe me when I say they have every right to be, so let this be a warning to all you parents out there. Just like every other night before bed, my parents read me a bedtime story, tucked me in, and made sure there was no monsters lurking under my bed. There is nothing better than feeling safe and cozy in your own bed. Right when my body finally started to relax and I started drifting off, I heard a shuffle come from under my bed. Out of instinct, I pulled the blankets over my head because that's supposed to protect us from the Boogeyman, right? Well, that's partly true. I had a bad habit of stashing my toys and stuff under the bed whenever I was supposed to clean the room. One night I heard the stuff under my bed start scooting around across the hardwood floor, like someone was crawling around under it. I held my blanket tight, and I tried to muffle my breathing with my hand. Whatever it was started to prod at me, but I thought my blanket would keep me safe. It seemed to be looking for an opening, then it drew back. Shortly after, the little light my Batman nightlight gave off was gone. I heard it drop to the floor, and it was silent. Everything in my body screamed, but I couldn't make a sound. My stupid ass thought if I did, it would hear me, so I waited. I laid there for what felt like hours, until I finally had the courage to do something. Stupid. If you're a kid listening to this, do not look. For the love of God, please do not make the same mistakes I did. I barely cracked the blanket to take a peek. As soon as I was going to scream, this hand grabbed me by my lower jaw and dragged me under the bed. I had to hold on because I felt it was going to rip my mouth off. It looked like I was going through a warp of some kind. Everything went from pitch black to being pulled through a tunnel made of light and darkness, folding in on each other as if they were clashing for dominance. At the end of that tunnel, the Boogeyman held me up to inspect me like a prized fish by his overextended arm that was coiling back into his body like a snake. Covered in piss, I finally pried myself from his hand. I fell to my back trying to get away. The hand brought itself to face level to the man it was attached to. He spoke to it, saying something along the lines of,
"A fresh soul for my lord."
And the hand nodded in response like a sock puppet. The first thing that came to mind was, I'm in this crazy guy's house, and I knew I needed to get the fuck out of there. The Boogeyman had his disgusting eyes fixed on me like he expected me to just be scared and let him eat me or whatever. I did a quick look for something in reach to throw at him. Don't get me wrong, I was terrified, but the instinct to live took over. I saw a bunch of crystal things on his bookshelf and grabbed one. His snake arm was ready to go, but he and the arm sort of recoiled after they saw what I was holding. I put 2 and 2 together and threw the damn thing at him as hard as I could. I've never been good at sports. That's probably a good thing because I completely missed them, and they were not happy about that. Not in a way you think, though. And when I say them, I meant the boogeyman and his arm. He turned around screaming,
No!
The arm shot out to catch the crystal like a spear striking the air. It barely missed, and the crystal shattered like glass, making the man attached to it roar in anger. It reminded me of the time I broke some of my mom's china. Just scarier. I started flinging the rest of the crystals off the shelf to buy myself some time before booking it out of the room. I've never been in a house so big. There was a seemingly endless hallway with countless rooms. Almost every door I checked was locked, making any hope die away by the second. I was already panicking, but when I heard him talking to himself, saying shit like,
No, my lord. I'll collect the souls while you have your fun.
My brain just went nuts. I thought I was fucked altogether, making giving up my only option. I just dropped to my knees and started crying when one of the doors that was locked just opened by itself. I heard some kid telling me, "This way." I excitedly thought to myself, maybe we can get out together. Of course, I ran in, making sure I slowly closed the door, trying not to make a sound. I turned around to thank the kid, but it was an empty room. Well, for the most part. It was like a lab or something. There were all these jars with different things in them. Some were human parts, little animals, or things I honestly couldn't describe even if I tried. Animal carcasses of all kinds were strung up or laid out. Some were even pulled apart and tethered together with fishing wire. I went to call out to the kid that helped me until I was interrupted by voices on both sides of me. I froze, hearing the same voice from earlier say, "Shh, they won't know you're in here." The other kid's voice said, "Yeah, they'll keep them company while we figure out how to get you out." I would have shat myself if I hadn't gone before bed, because there was nothing around me but dead stuff. Then, to make everything better, I started to hear kids running up and down the hallway with laughter coming from everywhere. The hallway, the rooms next to me, and even the invisible kids in my room chuckled a bit. I heard doors being thrown open, then that creepy snake arm thrash when it came up empty-handed. I can tell the boogeyman was starting to panic by the way he was talking to himself again. He was saying,
I'm sorry, my lord, that they have gotten away. Yes, I know this will set us back. Yes, my lord, I shall hold my tongue.
A book on one of the tables fell off and flipped to a random page. Well, random in regards to me. The kids both spoke at the same time, saying, "The blade." I walked over to check out the book, and sure enough, the Blade of Disconnection is the page that it fell on. It had a crap drawing of a knife with a description that read, "Separate soul from body." First thought was, where the heck am I supposed to get that? Just like that, it fell from one of the shelves. I walked over to pick it up with a bunch of different kids' voices talking to me at the same time, all giving the same instructions. They said, "Hide inside the goat. We'll distract him so you can do what needs to be done while the others get the fire going downstairs. Once you stick him, go right out the door and to the window." I crawled in that disgusting, decaying corpse of a goat, swallowing my vomit. It looked like most of its intestines that were still inside were picked at and moved around. One of those ghost kids started crying behind one of the tables on the other side of the room. Within seconds, the door flew open with the snake arm looking around for the noise. I could see it moving its hand around like a head through the slit in the goat's chest. The boogeyman ran down the hallway cheering like a child.
Oh, joy. Of course you'd find the child, my lord. I promised to clean up the mess of souls he made earlier.
The arm raised its hand to the boogeyman's head level, and they both nodded. They started approaching the table on both sides, thinking I was there. The boogeyman crept on the right side. while his arm continued to extend around the left. A voice came from behind me saying, "Now!" I bursted out from inside that goat carcass with its entrails exploding behind me. The boogeyman turned to his right, but the snake threw him off balance by pulling left as it tried to lunge at me. I ended up slipping on the goat blood and smacking heads with the boogeyman, making everything go black. I woke up feeling these hands pushing me while yelling, "Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!" I groggily stood up into a cloud of smoke. Hurry! 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 They said, "Before it comes back! Before it comes back!" I looked down at the boogeyman to see the knife in his shoulder. My heart sank when I noticed that his fucking arm was gone. I took off out of the room, stumbling over myself. Out the door and to the right, all I could see were the red and blue lights in the window. All of a sudden, I heard a thrashing behind me, so I looked back to see that creepy arm barreling towards me. It was knocking stuff over with a crystal in its mouth hand. I remember thinking to myself that crystal was for me, and that I'd be damned if I got trapped in one of those like the other kids. I ran down to the end of the hallway and jumped through the window without knowing what floor I was even on. I fell from the second story, breaking my femur when I landed. My dumbass thought it'd be smart to land on my feet. They found the body of the boogeyman burnt to a crisp, but he had allegedly lost his arm prior to that night. As for me, I went through years of therapy just for everyone to think I was crazy. One by one, my family stopped coming around, leaving me a lonely gimp with all these fucking kids crying in my ear all day and night. All I did was threaten to take them to that creepy hand thing one time, and they haven't stopped since. I honestly can't take it anymore. The worst part is I can feel it coming back for us, so please heed my warning. Don't peek out from under the covers.